In a press briefing that has captured national attention, the atmosphere inside the Oval Office turned volatile as former President Donald Trump found himself besieged by relentless questioning over a series of mounting scandals. This report provides an in-depth analysis of the events that unfolded during the session, examining the administration's contentious policies, the relentless media scrutiny, and the stark criticisms from political opponents. On this day, the press conference unfolded against a backdrop of intense public debate. The presence of the vice president was noted not for policy proclamations but for a casual observation on the novelty of airplanes, a remark that underscored the surreal contrast between the gravity of the issues at hand and the light-hearted interjections emerging from within the halls of power. This incongruity set the stage for a session that would soon be dominated by aggressive inquiries and an unexpected reaction from Trump. As questions began to focus on sensitive topics, including allegations of illegal mass deportations, unauthorized handling of secret war documents, and controversial ties to major corporate interests, the atmosphere grew increasingly charged. Reporters from a variety of media outlets, including those labeled by critics as propagandistic voices, pressed the former president on what many alleged to be a systematic disregard for legal and democratic norms. Among the most contentious issues was the assertion that, while Trump's administration was orchestrating an unlawful mass deportation plan, prominent figures like Elon Musk were simultaneously implicated in accessing classified documents and securing FAA contracts under dubious circumstances. The confrontation reached a crescendo when one prominent critic, Tim Walz, emerged as a vocal adversary. Walz, known for his uncompromising stance against the administration's policies, took aim at what he described as a deliberate subversion of legal and ethical standards. He argued that the current administration had not only neglected the foundational principles of due process but had actively chosen to eschew the established norms of governance. Walz warned that the actions taken by those in power could precipitate a broader erosion of democratic safeguards, a sentiment echoed by several congressional critics. In his address, Walz emphasized the significance of every public confrontation in a nation where legal and political battles are increasingly fought in the court of public opinion. He noted that while the administration's tactics might delay immediate judicial redress, the long-term consequences for American democracy could be severe if such practices are allowed to continue unchecked. His pointed criticism was not merely about political point scoring, rather, it was a call to recognize the dangerous precedent being set when executive power is used as a shield against accountability. This press conference also brought to light several pressing allegations that have been circulating in various media circles. Among these is the claim, widely reported by the New York Times, that Elon Musk has been able to access top-secret war plans, a revelation that has ignited concerns over national security protocols. In the midst of these disclosures, Trump was forced to address questions about whether he truly believed in the overwhelming mandate he once claimed to have received from voters. His responses, at times, appeared to betray an internal conflict, as he alternated between denying any legal wrongdoing and hinting at an executive prerogative that bypasses conventional checks and balances. Trump's reaction to these probing questions was not measured. Instead, he displayed a marked inability to handle the sustained media onslaught. His temper flared as he was cornered with inquiries about his so-called mandate and the legitimacy of his policies, questions that resonated deeply with ongoing controversies about his administration's adherence to the rule of law. At one point, he was asked to justify his administration's decision to conduct what critics have termed an unlawful mass deportation, a policy that many allege was designed to circumvent judicial oversight and undermine established legal frameworks. In his defense, Trump asserted that the law provided him with the authority to act decisively in the interest of national security, a claim that has been met with widespread skepticism. Moreover, the session revealed a disturbing admission regarding the administration's approach to economic and political favors. Trump's own words, whether intended or inadvertently, hinted at a system where the distribution of favors among the nation's elite was not only expected but institutionalized. This acknowledgement of a pay-to-play dynamic resonated strongly with critics who have long argued that the administration was designed to benefit billionaire allies at the expense of broader public interest. The narrative of a powerful executive enriching himself and his inner circle is one that, if substantiated, would have far-reaching implications for the integrity of American governance. The controversies did not stop there. Among the barrage of questions, issues related to tariffs and the manipulation of economic policies were also raised. Critics pointed to a pattern of decisions that seemed to favor large corporations, often at the expense of smaller businesses and the overall health of the economy. It was noted that business leaders were reportedly approaching the administration with requests for exemptions, a practice that, if allowed to continue, could open the door to widespread corruption and undue influence over national policy. Adding another layer to the already complex narrative, comments from J.D. Vance punctuated the session with a tone of derision toward those who, in his view, lacked the gravitas necessary for leadership. Vance's remarks, which drew a direct comparison between the vice president's casual demeanor and the expected standards of public service, served as a stark reminder of the deep divisions within the political landscape. His criticisms, though seemingly personal, were indicative of a broader disillusionment with a system that many believe has strayed far from its foundational principles. Beyond the immediate political ramifications, the events of this press conference have broader implications for public policy and the future of American institutions. Critics have warned that the normalization of such confrontational tactics and the apparent erosion of accountability could have a lasting impact on key sectors, including public education. The controversy touched upon issues of federal funding, educational equity, and the role of the Civil Rights Department in safeguarding against discrimination, matters that resonate deeply with constituents across the country. The cumulative effect of these controversies is a growing sense of disillusionment among many Americans. When a leader's actions are scrutinized not only for their legality but also for their ethical implications, the very fabric of public trust is put to the test. In this context, the press conference was not merely an isolated incident but a reflection of a broader struggle between established democratic norms and the emerging dynamics of executive overreach. The investigative report underscores that while legal challenges may be slow to materialize, the court of public opinion is already passing judgment on the administration's policies and practices. As this analysis draws to a close, it is clear that the events of the press conference serve as a microcosm of the larger political and legal battles that continue to shape the national discourse. The candid revelations about the administration's approach to governance, the unchecked exercise of executive power, and the overt entanglements with corporate interests raise critical questions about the future direction of American democracy. The investigative scrutiny applied to these issues is not only necessary but imperative, as it calls on all citizens to remain vigilant in holding their leaders accountable. In conclusion, the press briefing stands as a stark reminder of the perils of allowing political power to operate without sufficient checks and balances. The explicit details, from the contentious exchanges with the media to the alarming admissions regarding pay-to-play politics, paint a picture of an administration increasingly divorced from the principles of transparency and accountability. As the nation grapples with these challenges, the role of investigative journalism remains more vital than ever. By meticulously dissecting the events of that day, this report reaffirms the need for a robust and independent media to ensure that no leader is allowed to escape scrutiny. It is only through sustained public engagement and unwavering adherence to the rule of law that America can hope to preserve the integrity of its democratic institutions.